Hello and welcome to Ribs, Really Itty Bitty Soldiers. I'm Jim Johnson. It's good to have you back with us. If you're joining us again, if this is your first time, better check with your internet provider and see if they can get you a better search engine. Just kidding. Glad to have everybody here. Today we're going to be doing another of my Appetizers videos. And for those of you who have not seen one yet, Appetizers videos are designed to give people who are interested in a game but don't necessarily want to see a full run through of an entire game being played, or you're not interested in doing a full rules dive. This just gives you just enough information about how a game is played, what it looks like, so that you can make a better buying decision. So today we're taking a break from Really Itty Bitty Soldiers and we're going to do Really Itty Bitty Racers as we take a look at Heat, Pedal to the Metal. So let's go down to the table and gentlemen, start your engines. Okay, so here is an overview of a sample game. I'm actually in the middle of what's called a racing season. This particular one is 3 races. I'll get more into racing seasons a little later. You won't necessarily need to do that in the base game. I'm going to be going over the mechanics of the base game, but I will touch on some of the other stuff that is available in this game. There's quite a few layers to it. So in the basic game of Heat, you can have up to 6 players playing at one time, and but this is not necessarily a set number because the game scales very well for fewer players. And also, if you don't have anybody to play games with that day, no problem, they got it covered. They have a set of cards here called Legends, and you can do up to 5 Legends and if you want to just race solo. As a matter of fact, that's what I'm doing with this game right now. So the number of players is not a determining factor on whether or not you can bring this game to the table. So to start out, each player has one of these dashboards. Down the right side is numbers 1 through 4, which is the gear that your car can be in, and you have a little pawn here that you put it on whatever gear that you're in. Across the top, there's several icons here showing the steps of the turn that you do. At the start of the turn, you get to set your gear. You can move it up or down, 1 for free. Any more than that costs a heat, which I'll get into that in a minute. Then you select your cards. You can do 1 card. You must do 1 card for each number on the gear shift. So if you're traveling at speed 3, you must put down 3 cards. If you don't put down 3 cards, then bad things happen. Then in order that you are on the track, you move your cars. Then there's other things that you do for the different symbols on the cards. You can slipstream, which can give you some extra movement. Then you have to check what's called, when you go around a corner, you have to check your speed versus the corner, which I will tell you more about that later. Then you draw up to your hand of 7 cards. The rules are pretty easy, actually. You start out with a deck of cards, and you have these speed icons on here. Actually, this one doesn't have it. It's the 4s, 3s, 2s that have, and the 1s have it. That symbol right there is important when you're playing cards, which I'll show you that in a second. So in addition to these cards, you also have heat cards. Now, you start out with that each track has a different number of heat cards that you start with. So what you do, if it starts with 3, you would take 3 of these heat cards and you would put them right down here in the center of your dashboard. That's your engine. That's how much heat you have you can spend. Then, depending on the track and the weather conditions, if you're playing with weather, you have these stress cards. Now, the stress cards have a plus icon on there, which I'll explain that in a second, but those get shuffled into your hand, into your deck, rather. So once you've prepared all that, then you draw 7 cards. So we'll just pull out 7 cards here, and you set them up, and each person plans out their strategy for the turn. So right now, our cars are at the starting line, and we are all starting in first gear. So what I will do is I want to really get out of the gate going fast. So I'm going to, at the first phase of the turn, where you can shift gears, instead of shifting at 1, I'm going to shift at 2 because I want to build up my speed quickly. Now, in order to do that, This space right here is your discard pile. You take a heat card from your engine and you move it to your discard pile. And right now that doesn't really mean much, but it will shortly. So then you pick your cards. So I'm going to pick my 3 fastest cards. So I'm going to move my car 10 spaces. So I will play that. You put your cards down. Everybody puts their cards down in secret, and then you reveal them when it's time for your car to act. So when you move your car, you move it. The nice thing is that there are some numbers on the side of the track, and that will show you how many spaces you have until the next corner. So when you're moving your car, you can look at the number on the side, and then you just move your car that number of spaces. So I'm on 10, so I can put this all the way down to 0. So I'm right at that next turn, ready to go. So after you finish moving, you take the cards you use to determine your speed and you put them in your discard pile. And then you also get to discard any other cards from your hand that you do not wish to keep. For instance, if you're going up to a long straightaway, you're not going to need cards with 1 and 0 values, so you probably want to discard those. Now, there's 2 cards that you cannot discard, and those are stress cards and heat cards. You see, they both have that little symbol up there, the trash can with the X on it. That means they stay in your hand. Stress cards, you have to play them to get rid of them. And as I said earlier, you get a draw from the draw deck, so you can go anywhere from 0 to 5, actually from 1 to 4, because the 0 and the 5 don't have the little speed icon on them. But you may need to be going faster and draw a 1, or you may be coming up to a curve and you play this stress card and you draw a 4. So it's very uncertain, but that's the only way to get rid of stress cards out of your hand in the basic rules. Now, as far as heat goes, now heat is probably my favorite mechanic about this whole game. It's very interesting because you really have to manage your heat, because it's a 3-part process. It goes from, you starts out in your reserve, but then when you play it, you move it to your discard pile. And then once you shuffle your discard pile back to your draw deck, it gets cycled up into your hand, and at that point you have to do what's called a cool down to get rid of it. Now, a cool down is this little symbol here, this little thermometer symbol, and when you run into one of those symbols, usually that's when you're going slower. If you can see on the sheet here, the pad, if you're going second gear or first gear, you can get rid of 1 or 3 heat cards from your hand. So sometimes you just have to slow the car down so that you can get these heat cards out of your hand, because the last thing you want when you're coming up to a long straightaway is to have 4 heat cards in your hand and a couple of 1s and a 2. So it really limits your options if you have a lot of heat in your hand. But it's just a very interesting mechanic on how you have to control the heat. There's times when you want to spend a lot of heat, go around those turns fast and try to get ahead of the cars, and other times you're going to have to back it down and try to siphon off some of that heat. So one more thing about movement. I'm going to move these cards out of the way and zoom in a little bit on the corner. As you can see, I know the number's upside down, apologies for that, but this corner has a speed limit of 5, which means when you cross this line right here, if you go any faster than 5, it's going to cost you 1 heat for every point that you exceed the speed limit by. So, zooming back out here, I have 1 heat in my hand. So if I take this corner at faster than 5, if I take it at 6, I've got to move 1 heat over here to the discard pile. If I'm going 7 and I only have 1 heat in my discard pile or in my engine, I can only move 1 over there. Well, guess what? You spin out. And that means you go back to first gear and you have to start over at the last square up to the corner. And then you get one of these lovely little stress cards in your hand. which has that much more uncertainty that you have to deal with in upcoming turns. So it's very important that you not spin out. In addition to costing your place in the pack, it can also be devastating from the standpoint of having a whole lot of stress in your hand that you're not going to be able to control your car as easily. So I was talking about the AI aspect of the game. If you need to fill in some extra cars, if you just want to be racing, if you're going solo and you want to have 4 or 5 opponents, or if you've got, say, you've got 3 people playing your game and you want 3 more cars to make a full pack of 6, then you can use these Legends cards. And this is the Legend playmat, and it tells you how to do the Legends. They're these little cards that are color-coded to the drivers, to the color of the cars. And you use these cards to determine how far the cars move down the straightaway or into the corner. I will leave that to you guys to discover for yourselves. But as I said, it is a really great game to play, whether you're playing with solitaire or whether you're playing with 5 other friends. Also, there are some rules for weather. The tracks can have different types of weather on them, and that weather can impact, like this particular one here allows you to cool down because it's snowing. Then there's rain, which gives you an additional slipstream bonus. There's several different types of weather that can impact, and you don't have to use the weather rules if you don't want to. But again, it's just another optional rule that you can throw in. Also, there are these upgrade cards. Once you've played the basic game a couple of times, you can sort of kit out your cars with these additional things. You can either have another heat, you can have something that automatically cools down. You've got brakes, which you can choose the speed that you want to use on a turn, which helps. Here's one that you can choose between 1 and 4, but it costs you a heat when you use those brakes. So then these are just the basic upgrade cards. There are actually some advanced upgrade cards as well that you can add in at your own pace. You don't have to have them all, but here's the whole deck of the advanced upgrade cards. Finally, there are seasons that you can play. And this season here, I'm on the 3rd race of the 1961 season. And so there's usually some special rules for each of them. What you do is you keep up with the points from each race, and you see who wins 3 or sometimes 4 races. It depends on which season you're running. And with this, you can also get things called sponsorship cards, which are the same as upgrade cards, except they're only one use. So again, that's something I will let you guys deal with later on. But there's a lot of depth to this game. There are also 2 expansions out now, Tunnel Vision and Heavy Rain, which throw a couple of extra rules in it, but not really enough to unbalance the game. You're not dealing with a whole lot of optional rules to where you have to keep checking back to the rule book. This game is very easy to pick up and to understand. So let's go back for some final thoughts. All right, so that's Heat Pedal to the Metal. When I first heard about this game, I have never been a huge racing game fan. I've had a couple of them over the years, but I never really played them that often. And I don't follow racing, so it's not really a passion of mine, like Napoleonics and World War II miniatures are. But a friend of mine, his son had played a lot of this game, and it sounded kind of interesting, and so I went ahead and got it, jumped off the cliff, and come to find out that it's a very engaging little game. And it's also good because, to give you a little background, our group has people that have different likes in the gaming world. Some of us are miniatures gamers, some are war gamers, some are board gamers or Euro gamers, and kind of a mix. And sometimes it's hard for us to find a game we agree on, but everybody in our group seems to enjoy this game. Now, they may be lying to me about it, but they all seem to have a pretty good time with it. So it's a good game if you've got a mix of gamers. It's an easy game for casual gamers to pick up. You can play it with kids, not young children, but teenagers or tweens can pick this up really easily. And so it's a good family game too. So I highly recommend picking it up. And well, thank you for watching this video, and I hope I've given you a little bit of insight into the game. And feel free to submit any questions in the comments, and I'll be glad to get back to you on them. And thanks for watching. Take care.